The docking station sat alone in the dark, like a forgotten tooth in the jaw of the ocean. Private Platform C-17 was barely large enough to justify a name, an offshore slab of reinforced concrete anchored to a limestone shelf 20 nautical miles from the nearest shipping lane. No insignia, no corporate branding, just a helipad, a submersible cradle, and a glass observation tower that gleamed at night like a lighthouse without a beam. Sergeant Nolan Reyes stepped onto the platform just before sundown. The air tasted metallic. He didn't like places that didn't creak with life. War zones made sense. Movement, noise, hierarchy. This station felt hushed, curated. A civilian tech and a windbreaker met him at the landing pad. "You're the Marine they sent?" Reyes adjusted the strap on his rifle. "That's usually how it works." The tech didn't smile. "Diver went down at 2,100 last night. Private contractor, wealthy client, no signal loss, no distress beacon, just silence." Reyes glanced toward the submersible dock, where a sleek two-man descent capsule sat cradled in steel arms like a mechanical embryo. "Depth? 800 meters. Shelf drops steep there. Body? Not yet." Reyes nodded once. "Guard duty, they'd called it." But the tremor in the tech's voice suggested something else. Containment. Night came quickly offshore. The sea flattened into obsidian glass, reflecting the station lights in fractured ribbons. Reyes made his rounds, boots ringing hollow against steel grating. He checked access doors, comms relay panels, perimeter motion sensors. Everything read nominal, too nominal. At 2,300, he entered the observation tower. The interior was a cathedral of glass, 3 levels overlooking Blackwater. Research equipment hummed softly, casting sterile blue light across polished floors. A single workstation remained active. On the central monitor, paused footage showed the missing diver, Dr. Leon Varga, standing at the edge of the platform before his descent, slender, confident, wearing a rebreather mask and weighted harness. Reyes leaned closer. Something in the reflection behind Varga made him still. He rewound the clip, played it again. There, just at the edge of the frame, reflected in the tower glass, a shape in the air behind him. Not a bird, too large. The wings were wrong, membranous, elongated, folding inward like a cloak wrapping itself. Reyes felt the fine hairs on his arms rise. He froze the frame, enhanced the contrast. The figure was suspended above the water, maybe 30 feet from the platform's edge. Its lower half vanished into darkness, but the upper form was unmistakably humanoid. Long arms, arched shoulders, a narrow head tilted in curiosity, and eyes that caught the station lights with animal brightness. Reyes exhaled slowly. He checked the timestamp. The reflection lasted less than half a second. The next frame showed nothing but empty night. At 0100 hours, the wind died entirely. The station fell into unnatural stillness. Reyes stood outside now, scanning the perimeter with thermal optics. Cold water, warm machinery, no human heat signatures beyond his own. Then, a flicker. Above the submersible cradle, not on the surface, in the air, he lifted the optics higher. A shape detached itself from the darkness overhead. It wasn't flapping, it was gliding. Membrane wings stretched wide, ribbed and translucent in the faint station glow. The body was lean, elongated, with webbing trailing between limbs. Skin slick and reflective like something accustomed to both air and tide. It circled once, silently. Reyes felt something strange, not fear. Invitation. The creature banked sharply and descended toward the water, disappearing without a splash. A few seconds later, the ocean bulged outward in a widening ripple. Reyes moved to the railing, rifle raised but useless at this distance. The water parted. Not vertically, not explosively. It opened as though something beneath had exhaled, and from that slow bloom of displaced sea rose a face, pale, angular, eyes enormous and luminous. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing needle-fine teeth arranged not in rows, but in concentric crescents. It studied him, not with hunger, with assessment. Reyes forced himself not to step back. "Where's the diver?" he demanded. The creature tilted its head. Water streamed from its jawline in rivulets. Behind it, shapes moved below the surface, shadowed, darting. The half-aquatic, half-aerial thing spoke. The voice was not carried by wind. It vibrated directly against his skull. He accepted the invitation. Reyes swallowed. What invitation? The creature's wings unfolded slowly, stretching outward across the water like a cathedral canopy, to descend without returning. The sea began to glow faintly beneath it, and Reyes realized The missing diver had not been taken. He had gone willingly, down, to whatever waited below the shelf. The glow intensified beneath the surface, an eerie cerulean radiance that pulsed like a submerged heartbeat. Reyes gripped the railing until his knuckles whitened. "Define invitation," he said evenly. The creature's gaze did not blink. He sought what breath cannot hold. The words scraped across his thoughts like cold brine. Reyes's jaw tightened. "You coerced him." A faint ripple passed along the creature's wings, something akin to amusement. "You mistake hunger for coercion." He thirsted. The water brightened. Shapes rose beneath the luminescence, sleek forms spiraling upward, then peeling away again. Not attacking, observing. Reyes backed toward the submersible cradle without breaking eye contact. "If he's alive, bring him up." The creature's head rotated slightly, joints moving with unsettling fluidity. "He has been remade for depth." A surge of anger cut through Reyes's composure. "That's not your decision to make." The being extended one elongated arm across the water's surface. Webbing shimmered between its fingers. It was his. The glow beneath the ocean intensified into a widening vortex of light. Then something emerged, not violently, gracefully. A figure ascended through the radiance, body angled upright as though buoyed by invisible columns. Dr. Leon Varga, but altered. His limbs were longer now, musculature tightened by adaptation. Veins shimmered faintly beneath skin that carried a translucent sheen. His eyes, once ordinary brown, reflected bioluminescent blue. He breached the surface without gasping, without urgency. Reyes felt his throat constrict. "Doctor," he called. Varga's gaze lifted toward the platform. Recognition flickered. Then something else replaced it. Serenity. "He was dying," the creature murmured inside Reyes's mind. Reyes froze. Varga drifted closer to the platform, movements precise and effortless. No kicking, no flailing. "You had a degenerative condition," the creature continued. "Your files reveal it. Pulmonary fibrosis. 5 years at best." Reyes's stomach dropped. Varga reached the edge of the dock. His fingers, now webbed subtly between knuckles, rested on the steel. He looked up at Reyes. "I can breathe here," Varga said quietly. The voice was layered, faintly resonant like the others. Reyes stared at him. "You didn't report any illness." Varga smiled faintly. "Would you have let me dive?" The Marine had no answer. Behind Varga, the winged entity hovered half-submerged, membrane wings partially unfurled like a shroud across the tide. "You changed him," Reyes said. "We offered extension," the creature replied. "Not all transformations are theft." Reyes felt the night closing in around him. "At what cost?" Varga's gaze softened. "Gravity," he said. "Sunlight. Certain memories fade." Reyes noticed then. The doctor's pupils dilated excessively, reacting poorly to the station's floodlights. "You can't stay up here long, can you?" Reyes asked. Varga shook his head slowly. "It burns." The creature's wings twitched, as if sensing the strain. "He belongs where pressure shapes him." Reyes stepped closer to the dock edge, lowering his rifle completely now. "You're asking me to just let him go?" The winged being tilted its head again. "We do not ask." The water shifted. More shapes circled below, sleeker than the mermen Reyes had imagined earlier. These were built for vertical movement, for ascension and descent, for crossing realms. Varga looked at Reyes one final time. "There's more down there," he said softly. "Structures older than our charts, organisms that cultivate entire reef systems. They don't want war." Reyes felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. "Then why show yourselves?" The creature answered this time. "Because you guard the threshold." Reyes's pulse thudded. "And you are capable of restraint." A pause, or escalation. The implication hung between them. Varga began to sink slowly, fingers sliding from the steel. Reyes reached out instinctively, but stopped himself. The doctor's eyes held gratitude. Then he disappeared beneath the glow. The winged entity lingered a moment longer, hovering just above the surface. "You may report him deceased," it said gently, "or you may mark this sector restricted." Reyes swallowed hard. "You're expanding. We are surviving." The wings folded inward, the glow dimmed, and the ocean closed as if nothing had ever disturbed it. Reyes stood alone on the docking platform, the wind beginning to stir once more. He looked down at the black water, feeling that strange sensation again. Not dread, an invitation, but this one he knew was not for him. Dawn came thin and colorless. The horizon bled a diluted gray that barely distinguished sea from sky. Reyes remained at the railing long after the glow had vanished, replaying every word in his mind with forensic precision. You guard the threshold. The phrase would not loosen its grip. At 0600, the civilian tech approached cautiously. Any activity? Reyes didn't turn. Negative. The lie sat heavy but controlled. Search and recoveries inbound by noon, the tech added. We'll sweep the descent path. Reyes finally faced him. Call it off. The tech blinked. Sir? Unstable thermocline pocket, Reyes said flatly. Possible methane vent collapse at depth. We don't risk a secondary incident. The tech hesitated. You didn't detect what's 800 meters down, Reyes interrupted quietly. And neither did Varga. Silence. Authority carried weight, even without full explanation. The tech nodded slowly and retreated to the comms room. Reyes exhaled. He had chosen. By afternoon, official documentation labeled Dr. Leon Varga as presumed deceased. Deep-water structural event. The submersible capsule was retrieved intact but empty, its tether cleanly detached at a precision point that suggested mechanical failure. No mention of wings, no mention of voices, no mention of luminous invitations. The station quieted, yet something had shifted. Reyes felt it as a subtle undercurrent in the air, like standing at the mouth of a cave whose depth you cannot measure. 3 nights later, it returned, not dramatically, not as spectacle. A faint scraping sound echoed beneath the platform, rhythmic and deliberate. Reyes was already outside when the water began to ripple. He didn't raise his rifle this time. The surface parted softly. The winged figure emerged only halfway, resting against the tide like a dark angel grounded between elements. Its eyes reflected starlight. You chose restraint, it said. Reyes folded his arms. You tested me. A threshold must be evaluated before it is trusted. He studied it more closely now. The membrane of its wings was not uniform. Faint vein-like filaments glowed faintly within, carrying pulses of light in branching patterns. A living circulatory map. Why him? Reyes asked. He asked first. People ask for miracles all the time. The creature's head tilted slightly. We do not grant miracles. We exchange adaptations. Reyes stepped closer to the edge. What do you want from me? The sea stirred beneath them. Observation, a pause, and warning. The word hung heavier than the others. Reyes's jaw tightened. Warning about what? The creature extended one elongated finger toward the horizon, far beyond visible range. Your species drills deeper each year. You rupture sealed ecosystems. You pierce vaults older than your language. Its wings unfurled slightly, catching faint wind. There are layers below ours that neither of us should awaken. A chill slid down Reyes's spine. You're not the apex down there. The creature's silence confirmed it more effectively than speech. After a long moment, it spoke again. We maintain equilibrium, but pressure accumulates. Reyes stared at the water, imagining strata beneath strata, civilizations nested like geological secrets. And if someone ignores your perimeter, he asked. The being's eyes dimmed fractionally. Then invitation becomes reclamation. The ocean vibrated faintly at the word. Reyes absorbed that. No threat in tone, just inevitability. You're expanding toward this dock, he said. We are extending dialogue. Reyes almost laughed at the understatement. And what's the thirsty part? He asked quietly. For the first time, the creature's mouth curved in something unmistakably close to a smile. You misunderstand the thirst. The water behind it began to glow faintly again. Not bright, just enough to suggest depth beyond depth. It is not for blood, a beat. It is for breath unbounded. Reyes felt the pull then, not physical, but philosophical. The lure of shedding gravity, of surrendering fragility for adaptation, of being remade for another element. He stepped back deliberately. I breathe fine up here. The creature regarded him with what might have been respect, then remained guardian of air, its wings folded completely. But remember this, Sergeant Reyes, the ocean darkened beneath it. The invitation is never forced. The being dissolved into the sea without disturbance. The night returned to ordinary wind and salt. Reyes stood alone on the dock, listening to the subtle rhythm of waves against reinforced concrete. He understood now. The ocean was not hunting. It was recruiting. And somewhere below the shelf, Dr. Leon Varga moved through cathedral vaults of water and stone, no longer bound by failing lungs. Reyes looked up at the stars, then down into the black tide. He had chosen air, but he could not shake the knowledge that someday someone else would stand where he stood, tired, dying, curious, and when the water parted and the voice offered extension, they might not hesitate. The docking station lights flickered once in the distance, reflected across a sea that no longer felt empty, only waiting.